Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Enrico Sasson speaking. I'm the editor-in-chief of Harvard Business Review in Italy, and I'm really happy to welcome every one of you to this online meeting on leadership issues, which we have organized in partnership with Angelini Academy, which is the corporate academy of Angelini Industries. As most of you know, Angelini Industries is an Italian industrial group spread throughout the world in 26 countries with over 6,000 employees. It operates in 6 business areas: pharmaceutical sector, consumer goods, industrial automation, wine sector, dermocosmetics and perfumery, and startups in the healthcare sector. With the Angelini Academy, we have decided to investigate what we consider to be a central competence in today's business world, which is managing data and insights. This is indeed a very important issue for every company of any size and industry, and it's becoming more important every day. Companies are competing in an increasingly competitive environment, what is often referred to as a VUCA world, which means volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. It is therefore of paramount importance to develop the ability to read and understand the enormous amount of data and information coming in from very different sources. Quantitative data and qualitative information and insights alike. We will listen to our distinguished guests to understand what all this means for them in their specific field of activity. What is clear is that to thrive in increasingly competitive markets, every company needs leaders that know how to inspire others and have everyone in the organization share the same view on making the best with all the available information. This means the ability in reading, analyzing, and interpreting business phenomena based on data and insights. Developing and strengthening this ability is not an easy task, of course, and implies at least 3 mutually reinforcing goals. One is promoting the dissemination of an interconnected data and insights culture across the company. The second is reinforcing a data and insights oriented and predictive approach. Third, promoting the creation of organized and shared data sets for the identification of opportunities and constraints in support of the decision-making process. This is the topic we are going to deal with today. Let me now introduce our distinguished panelists. We have with us Claudia D'Arpizio, Senior Partner and Global Head Fashion and Luxury, Bain & Company. Very welcome, Claudia. Matteo Mille, Chief Operating Officer in Microsoft. Welcome. Alessandro Piva, Head of Cybersecurity and Data Protection Labs of Politecnico di Milano. Very welcome. And last but not least, of course, Massimo Marin, Chief Strategy and Corporate Development Officer of Angelini Industries. We are very grateful to all of you for being here with us today, and we look forward to a very interesting workshop on this very interesting topic. Let's start with Alessandro Piva. Professor Piva, relying on advanced tools for analyzing large amounts of data of different origin and nature is now an essential need for every company. Drawing on your research, what is the state of adoption of these tools among Italian companies, especially of smaller size?
Thank you, Enrico, for this question. I share with you just a slide to introduce my speech in this question. The research of Politecnico di Milano, precisely the Big Data and Business Analytics Observatory, confirm that the number of Italian companies that use advanced analytics and data science tool is growing. Organization spending on data science platform accounts for more than 10% of the entire data analytics budget, and reach a growth of more than 30% between 2020 and 2021. Consistently, the number of companies that have started projects in this field is increasing. You can see here a summary of the situation, the slide. However, the level of adoption of advanced analytics tools varies a lot based on size of the company. Among the large Italian organization, the 54% have started at least one project in the last 3 years. Looking at the small medium enterprise, the use of advanced analytics drops to 14%. If we look at the adoption of advanced system of artificial intelligence methodologies, the percentage drops to 4%. Moreover, both in a large and small organization, as you already mentioned, there's a gap between awareness and implementation. For example, even among large organizations, we still have about a third of players that has not started any advanced analytics activities. It must be said, however, that the barriers to adoption hardly lie in the technology itself, and usually is more related to the analysis part and to the change management aspect. You know, to extract value from your large amount of data, you need to have a proper data management infrastructure, and also strong competencies, both in data science and data engineering fields. These two assets require technological investment and the capability to attract talents, which are still difficult to find in the Italian market, but also at a worldwide level. And it's also necessary to structure a path of cultural change within the organization that makes the decision-making processes effectively data-driven. For all these reasons, small, medium enterprise are struggling to be ready, even if they are aware of the importance of the analytics tools. The adoption of traditional tools, in particular spreadsheet, or at most the use of descriptive analysis through, for example, basic analytics or data visualization tool, still prevails. Among small, medium enterprise, prevails a siloed approach to data management. In fact, each business area carry out a simple analysis with all the data available. And sometimes this system cannot be easily integrated and poorly managed and governed.
Thank you very much indeed, Alessandro. This is very interesting. And of course, this situation where we see lagging small and medium companies in this respect means also, of course, also an opportunity because there is a big room to grow in this specific field. So thank you very much. Now, Claudia D'Arpizio, from your standpoint as a global consulting company, you have a privileged view of the main processes taking place in the business world. Considering the topic, we are talking about today, the use of advanced data and insight tools for better decision making. What, in your opinion, is the situation among Italian companies? Do you see, as Professor Piva has just stressed, significant differences depending on sector and size?
Yes, like as Professor Piva just said, I think that the level of adoption of the more advanced tools is different by the different sizes of the company and the different sectors, but overall there is the strong catch-up process of Italian companies on first the strategic awareness that data are important to navigate the increasing complexity and to be more and more competitive, and second that technology can enable a more efficient and effective use of data. Then I would say that more than using the data or not using the data, there is a kind of a selective use of data, and very often with some prejudgment on that. So deciding that some kind of companies don't need data or are not able to really enforce a decision on some specific data. So in particular, if I think to the sector where I work the most, that is fashion luxury players, for many years they have really not analyzed the consumer data. That since with the prejudice that companies with the high creativity and high innovation level, they don't need to follow the needs of consumers, or don't need to really too much be tuned on consumer data like many fast-moving consumer good company does. In reality, this is changing quite quickly now, with complexity growing, but even concept like market shares, competitors data, data on pricing of the products that are basic data for many industries were just neglected in this sector. So I think doing the pricing list of thousands of SKU every 6 months in the past, now every month, because there are very frequent collection without strong analytics comparing your pricing with competitions in the different markets. We are talking of global companies that usually operates more than 40 countries globally and many different channels. So a huge complexity, yet the pricing is kind of a manual activity, often managed by top managers or even entrepreneurs when we are talking of family-owned entrepreneurial-led companies, since pricing is seen as a key lever to protect margins and also a competitive lever. So in that case, the use of more advanced analytic tools on some of these aspects is very recent and still has to be fine-tuned. This is just an example to say that is yes, the tools are there, and all the companies, I think, feel the need of upgrading their tools, but then you need also the need and the strategic understanding that some more data are needed to enforce the key strategic decisions.
Yeah, thank you very much, Claudia. We come back to you in a few minutes. Now, Matteo Mille, the experience of a company like Microsoft is really very important for us. And for a technology company like yours, excellence in data management and use of the data is a fundamental asset. With billions of software packages installed in people's and business devices around the world, the amount of data at your disposal is certainly huge. How do you use this data, and to what purpose?
Yeah, look, the important thing is, and I call out what our colleagues and professors have already called out, the size of the company matters. What we are seeing in the Italian market is that the bigger the company, the more quoted advanced the adoption of data and artificial intelligence is adopted. What we must share is that artificial intelligence and data management is basically the electricity of this era. And similarly to the electricity back in the days, it needs to be adopted broadly to see the immense impact that it drives. For Microsoft, data and artificial intelligence, tightly correlated, is actually one of the 6 pillars, one of the 6 solution areas that are embedded in our cloud platform. Thanks to an Harvard Business School study, we have in fact seen that companies on average are investing 3.5%, the digital leaders, or 3.2% of their top line in IT, which is, more or less the same, 3.5, 3.2. Nevertheless, it is when these investments are focused on data exploitation, and Professor Piva called it out earlier, that we can see a significant impact on gross margin and on net profit. What does that mean? That people are seated on huge amount of data, but they are not using it. And this is crucial. In the new digital economy, data is the key competitive differentiator, and we can see it on a daily basis in our customers that drives market success. Yet, while data is critical, many organizations are still stuck in outdated methods, old processes, and sorry to say it, old technologies. But why? 48% of the business-to-business organization claim that they're struggling with disconnected data. Disconnected data due to the fact that they are incapable of unifying it. So we're seeing that artificial intelligence is an enabler driven by a proper unification and structure of data that are originally disconnected. And therefore, 47% cited that the inability to extract data, not only to unify it, but initially to extract it from different source systems is the key challenge. We can see that on a daily basis into the big customers or the big partners and on the Italian market above all. Why? Because making sense of data is not easy. There are different schemas, different metadata, different relationship across the different data, and analyzing it, it requires huge standardization. So we need to be structured and we need to understand the source, the different sources. What we have found, in fact, is that the key lies in building systems of intelligence in the cloud, where computational capacity and sharing of solution is more accessible based on rich data models. As Microsoft, we have built industry data models that have been built with vertical partners, many of them also academic institutions, and that provides information blueprint for businesses, for processes, for the customers, so that they can adopt it easily. Across 75 industries, among which healthcare and pharmaceutical is one of the core, we have developed with these partners industry data models comprising 5,000 data entities, 30,000 data attributes. I'm just trying to give you a sense of the complexity behind data management to allow artificial intelligence to be adopted. So it's a huge investment that we're doing. But let me give you an example, because examples make choices more clear. Novartis, they empowered scientists with artificial intelligence to speed the discovery and development of breakthrough medicine. So we have funded a program with Novartis, a program called Reimagine Medicine in the Novartis AI Innovation Lab to help accelerate drug discovery. So researchers can now apply artificial intelligence to comb through the trove of lab data through thousands of past drug development experiments, finding buried in PDFs, in Excel, in written description. And now they are running 10,000 experiments simultaneously. So this gives back time and broaden the scope of real research into a player such as Novartis. And I'm sure that Angelini is in the same direction and agrees with me that these kind of data sets are an hidden gold that we must leverage to drive this transformation in our market.
Thank you very much, Matteo, and thank you for calling in Massimo Marin. Actually, Massimo, according to Robert Kaplan, creator of the Balanced Scorecard, we cannot, what cannot be measured cannot be successfully managed. I mean, this what Matteo has just said is exactly this. It's perhaps a somewhat extreme view, but one cannot certainly make appropriate decisions without the right information and without an adequate set of supporting data. It is therefore necessary to bring into the organization, starting from the top, a mindset oriented towards a systematic use of data and information shared with everyone. I mean, this is the big challenge, of course. Everyone in the organization must be involved in this, despite the fact that I imagine, I mean, that everyone probably agrees, this process is not actually always effectively implemented. In your opinion, what's stopping it, and what could unlock it?
Well, I think the systematic use of data is top priority for any corporate nowadays. And I think that despite being top of mind for executives, and you rightfully said, the systematic use of data is not always unlocked in corporates. And I see three main issues are driving this gap to full potential. The first is data quality and availability within companies. Second, communication, but in terms of ability to present data. And last but not least, probably, the lack of a data-driven organization and culture. So let me explain a little bit. Data quality and data availability, it's a common issue, as also my colleague said, in a non-native data-driven companies. And it is very typical of the Italian corporate landscape. Looking at Angelini Group, we observe different situations across our opcos. You mentioned before 6 different businesses where we operate, and highly dependent and driven by business sector, and of course also our relative size. So let me give an example on that. There are businesses with a good level of internal data and businesses where we push this even further, integrating with external data, market trends and competition. But however, in our smaller realities, we have to move forward because data is still used in an old school approach just to create basic dashboards. So in terms of communication, I think corporates need to exploit data potential, being able to extract meaningful messages from available information. So too frequently, teams know they are sitting on valuable insight, but they aren't able to properly communicate it. And that's a pity. So the systematic and the use systematic of data without a data-driven organization is not, you cannot be successful. So you have to move forward through a cultural change. And in my view, sincerely, looking forward, it entails also to having skilled people within the company, also hiring new talents, able to collect, analyze, interpret data. So data-driven culture means that everyone at the company is used and confident to bring numbers into discussion, be it on sales target, operation, HR, so whatever it means. So just to summarize and wrap up, companies, to me, should be able to change the paradigm, changing dramatically the perspective and really putting data at the center of the business. And of course, the implementation, and Claudia probably can confirm, needs to be agile. So the secret is working step by step, not rushing to reach the ideal state instantly. It might be a long process, of course, and you might face resistances, but it's the only way to implement a proper data path.
Right. Thank you very much, Massimo. And now the four of you have painted a wonderful description of the situation. Let's go now a little bit more into the future. Let's start again with Alessandro Piva. Alessandro, the pandemic with its profound consequences in terms of social distancing and remote work and everything else has accelerated the adoption of increasingly advanced technologies in the business world. According to your research, once again, its progress appreciated and shared within the organizations, or in other words, do you notice a new mindset among employees at every level of the organization?
Yes, thank you for this question. I share with you another interesting analysis on this. In 2020, we tried to perform a deeper analysis on the pandemic consequences on data analytics, and among the large organization, we presented the widening of a gap that we call the analytics divide. There was and there still is indeed an important gap between well-structured organization and players at the beginning of analytics maturity. Before the pandemic, some organizations had already worked on the technology and skill to extract value from data. They managed very well the emergency phase, leveraging above all on internal resources, on internal competencies. In many cases, data science competence centers have gained a greater internal visibility, working on risk management issue, for instance, and providing worthy information for top management. By the way, decision makers perceive even more the importance to have valuable information, since they had to make a risky decision in a totally new context. These competence center, if they are well organized, have also been able to update and correct analytical models already in production. Let me give you an example. The analysis of consumer behavior between online and offline shops is a clear case where the total rethinking of algorithms has been fundamental. The behavior of customer changed during pandemic. On the other hand, companies at the beginning of a path towards advanced analytics, without internal resources or with very scarce resources, have preferred to delay investment in technological or data science projects. This had a clear effect on the Italian market of data analytics solution and services. In 2020, we estimated only a 4% growth. Considering the strong impact of the pandemic on economics, it was a positive result, but quite disappointing for an area of such great interest and evolution. Coming to the second part of the question, to the data culture issue, the pandemic had a heterogeneous effect on organization, in some cases even positive effects. However, there is still a lot to do on data culture, even in mature organization, to ensure that advanced methodologies are effectively used and to avoid overwhelming of low-value requests to data science roles. There should be a large panel of what we call power user or citizen data scientists, or even business users were able to interpret the results of the analysis and manipulate the view, the derived view according to their needs. Data visualization tools, in this case, play a crucial role in this process. Nowadays, these tools are widely used among the large organization, but often not used to their full potential. We know that innovation is always difficult, and the real introduction of advanced analytics seems to be really challenging because they potentially have an extremely transversal impact. In addition to the analysis phase, internal users should also be involved in the data governance part. Business users know their data, they know which field is more important, which are the processes that have generated a particular record, and so on. That's why business users can have an important role in reaching the meaning of data. Getting to a full use of data is an important challenge, but only a few organizations in Italy can affirm to be ready today from our point of view.
Thank you very much. A very, very clear view, Alessandro. Thank you very much. Let's go back to Claudia D'Arpizio. Claudia, companies compete without borders in an increasingly competitive scenario. The advanced use of data and analysis tools is therefore of strategic importance, as we have seen so far. In many cases, it requires a real digital transformation for which many companies are still unprepared. So what is the experience of your consulting company in this very, very important regard?
Yes, so as we have just said, for sure the pandemic has accelerated the awareness and the need of monitoring the business and all the different axes of complexity more strongly. It's true that data and tools have been for sure very helpful to navigate the tempest of 2020. So if I think again to the sector that I follow the most, during the lockdown, actually this sector shut down all the stores across the globe and all the DC e-commerce distribution centers, and they were kind of in a panic mode, and every single signal from any market was important to depict the possible next step in terms of where to move the goods from one country to another, or where to really redirect their marketing efforts. But I think that data alone are not enough. Again, you need the strategic thinking and the human touch attached to it. And also thinking that we see in the digital transformation in this company that the level of adoption and implementation is also linked to how you are able to make this data, yes, useful, but also I would use the word entertaining, in the sense that we all have a span of attention that is very limited. We cannot be bombarded by too many data. We need to have micro targeting of the data and to really have the data that we need in a very selected way. So again, artificial intelligence, for instance, that we use to understand how consumers react, for instance, to videos. And these are now the new frontiers of video advertising through artificial intelligence. You can see which image, which word are attracting most the attention of consumers. You can use the same technology to really micro-target your own internal clients, so the data users, to really better frame the data in terms to make them more sexy and more digestible for the managers that have to use them. Because again, we are in a phase where complexity is increasing exponentially externally, but also internally, because all executives in any company is really bombarded by all kind of messages, data, not only for business, but also analyzing competition through social media, analyzing all the digital touch point. You are 24 hours on with your iPhone and getting emails at any hour. So also the rate of adoption and the span of attention is an important key success factor for the successful adoption of these new tools. Then again, digital transformation is in process. Many Italian companies have still big gap in terms of basic systems. So it's a little bit of a catch-up. They are in a catch-up mode, but sometimes you don't need to be perfect, like Massimo, I think, was suggesting. You need to really work on the key priorities and strategic objectives. We call this approach a micro-battle approach, not really doing the big bang and trying to solve all the data issues or all the system issues in the company that it's impossible to solve, or at least you embark in huge transformations that sometimes are very useful, but sometimes risk really to have the company lost in translation for a long period of time. And with this complexity, it's very difficult then to succeed, while identifying which are the key battles that you have to win and working in agile projects to solve specific topics is super important, step by step, but also scoring successes and then spreading the success to create broader awareness into the organization.
Yeah, thank you very much, Claudia, for stressing this particular point. Of course, the companies not only need proper organization, data, and the ability of using data to manage every situation. The point that I was introducing before is that we can use this data also to look into the future. So I would like to ask Matteo, advanced use of data can help read the current trends and anticipate the evolution. There are many foresight techniques, although not many companies use them to predict as far as possible, of course, risks and opportunities. What is your view and your experience in Microsoft on this?
Within Microsoft, well, first of all, thanks for the question, and really happy to hear Claudia D'Arpizio on the approach of thinking big but starting small, because that is a crucial component of a successful, let me say, strategy on data and artificial intelligence. Addressing everything doesn't pay back in majority of the company, and doesn't matter the size. Within Microsoft, yeah, we do foresee the future, but as in Italy, we would say, don't be a shoemaker with a hole in your shoes, right? So we need to adopt solutions internally to show that it can be done. And giving you an example, we started small by adopting, chatbot internally to interact among the 130,000 employees among the different product groups. Well, what I can share today is that AI and machine learning algorithms and predictive analysis are at the fundamental of our business. We do see AI as an electricity that runs the Microsoft business across all the country and across the whole organization that, as you know, spans from cloud, devices, gaming, and so on and so forth. So a couple of examples. As the Chief Marketing and Operation Officer within Italy, I do have the ability to analyze the whole funnel between marketing activities and post-sales nurturing. And I do that by having the ability to analyze the data that comes from local events, demand generation activities through, social, or through, tele. Once again, through specific activities run from our global demand center in Redmond or across Europe. We do have the ability to attract people that might be interested in our white paper on security, or on our white paper on data and machine learning. And by understanding their needs, given their preferences, and understanding the source of their approach to Microsoft informations, we then route all these data sets to the most suitable or fitted role within Microsoft to take care of these needs of the customers. So as you can see, and I'm just overly simplifying what we're doing, from the marketing activities into the post-sales, there is an algorithm and a machine learning activities that are routing those leads, because at the end of the day, we're selling, we are a cloud platform provider, but we're selling subscription. We are selling, electricity, if electricity can be used as the analogy of the AI. And so we can send that kind of information to our partners, to our field sales, to our digital sellers based in Ireland, to our Microsoft store, or to our website that takes care of that information and fulfills the needs of the customer or of the partner. And this is just an example of how pervasive is AI within us. But one other example that I am keen to share is that we have been living in the past years in a pandemic situation, right? And therefore, understanding how the well-being of our users was analyzed. It has been a pivotal information that we have relied upon. The examples that I can give you is that we have seen that the majority of the user of our collaborative platform, so Teams or Outlook combined with Teams and so on, were actually keen to understand how the employees in a given company were more or less productive based on their well-being. So addressing and understanding how they were behaving in using Teams together with Microsoft PowerPoint or Excel and so on in a combined platform, which is Viva, provided to the managers of these companies insights to understand what should we tell to the finance department or to the administrative department or to the research on how to better take care of their time at work. So understanding actionable recommendation on the productivity of these users gave us a feedback on how to restructure or refine the agenda of the people. An example, you probably have noticed that in Outlook, the default time for the meetings has been reduced from an hour to 50 minutes or from 30 minutes to 25. That comes from the gathering of all those feedbacks and all those insights in the former usage of the product. So you can see that listening to the customer experience, understanding that they needed breaks between the meetings have allowed us to reduce the time. And we did it on the fly. We did it on the cloud providers. We did it on our cloud platform so that everybody would have access to these additional things. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, because mitigating or improving a product on the fly based on the feedback that we receive from customers and partners directly or through the actual usage of the platform by aggregating this data on personas, so obviously the privacy protected insight, give us that kind of ability. Imagine, improving a car while you're driving. That's the closest analogy that I can see on the usage that we're doing on improving the products. And I just called out Teams, but imagine the database, imagine our algorithm of AI, everything in a privacy protected insights based approach, but we have that kind of ability by aggregating data across all the countries and all our product sets. I hope that gives a sense of how deep we are in data management and artificial intelligence within our, let me say, cobbler shop, using the older analogy of the shoemaker.
Yeah, thank you very much. Indeed, Matteo, really this is a very important view that you gave us on your experience and the future of your business and everyone's business, which is of course very much linked to the development and introduction of artificial intelligence, which is we know in Italy at least a bit late so far. But this is the future. Now, Massimo, as we already said, we have said really a lot of very interesting things, but we said that we live in a very uncertain and volatile environment. Making the best out of relevant data and information is, of course, a must, but it may not be enough. By definition, we can often rely on incomplete data and ambiguous information that need to be read and interpreted, and which, when it comes to extraneous, need to be projected and amplified. Once again, we're talking of foresight. In your opinion, are decision makers aware of this need? Is it appropriate to think that this is a skill that can be taught or developed in people and organization?
Well, I think this question allow me to expand a bit on what I was describing earlier. Because in an ideal world, we would have high quality data, enough time to analyze it, and therefore generate also meaningful insights. But in this fast-paced world, we need to make decisions and react quickly, often relying also on an incomplete set of data. And many times there is even lack of direct comparability with historical data. And at least for us in our group, the pandemic, it's the perfect example. So I think two skills are crucial. The first is awareness on which is the most relevant data for a specific business decision, anticipating also external factors. And second, business sense. So we are talking about experience and ability to make educated guesses in risky situations. So as a CSO of the entire group, I definitely see this need even more, because we are constantly stimulated to think of how to be more competitive and how to find the answer in this VUCA world. So I think it's crucial to stimulate a cultural change, making informed decision based on the most relevant data available, even when data is limited or missing. So with weak signals, business sense and experience play a key role. And the exposure to different yet comparable experiences and knowledge of the business can help a decision maker extract the most out of a limited data set. So this means leveraging on a more, I would say, holistic approach. So business sense, in my view, can be developed, but it takes time. And the ability to make educated guesses based on limited data available, it's a natural trait that cannot be created from scratch. So I would like to share with you a few examples within our group, just to reinforce what I was saying. So first, starting from our pharma business, is definitely the biggest one in our group. We were able to react quickly to the COVID pandemic, adjusting, completing the product needs, and also quickly understanding the demand drivers evolutions. For instance, extraordinary demand surge for some product, I can mention hand sanitizer, being forced to entirely reshape and adapt the supply chain. And similarly, in our consumer business, we responded extremely fast to the steep increase in raw materials and energy costs, identifying right away quick wins to be competitive in the new scenario. So in these concrete examples, I see clearly our ability to react and adapt to a volatile, changing environment, even with very limited data available. And I think sincerely, for sure, quality of our people, our decision makers, even beyond data, made a difference.
Well, thank you very much, Massimo. Very interesting description of your reaction to the pandemic and the use of technology and innovation to the different purposes in this situation. Thank you all. I mean, we are now at the end of this very dense and fruitful discussion. I'm very grateful to Claudia D'Arpizio, Matteo Mille, Alessandro Piva, and Massimo Marin for their great contribution and for their stimulating ideas. I hope that this workshop has been as interesting for those who listen to it as it has been for us to make. A special thanks, of course, to Angelini Industries and Angelini Academy for having started this important initiative. This webinar has been recorded, and it will be soon available on our websites. So thank you everyone again for watching. We do hope to have given you some reason to follow our activities even in the future. Thank you very much and goodbye.